Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Enter the Ether, the podcast all about the upcoming third-person mobile ethereal Clash of Souls. I'm your host, the Man Goose. Joining me, as always, from the Undying team itself, it's JellyKnees. What's up, Jelly?
What's up, Man Goose? I just now realized that my background is still set up for the community corner background, but it's fine. Whatever.
I thought that was just your jam now. I thought that's what you were going to do.
Change it. But yeah, dude, it's been good. And that's what we're going to talk about today, so it works out.
Yeah, we are going to talk about the community corner. I'll tell you right off the top, like, the community corners have never been bad. Like, especially the pre-recorded ones have always been pretty professional. But they always seemed a little bit staged, a little scripted, which I don't care if it's scripted or not. I think it's probably best if it is a little bit scripted. But, no, this one it flowed really smooth. I think it had a lot to do with the fact that it was you and Skifter, and you and Skifter are like buds. So it was like two friends hanging out talking about the game that they're doing. So absolutely. I thought it went really well. It was structured really well. You guys put out a lot of great information. Looking forward to the live one. The live one, is that one going to be on Twitch or?
We're probably going to do multi-streams. It's going to be on Twitch and YouTube. Okay. For anybody that can tune in either place. We're going to do it that way.
Okay, not bad, not bad. I like that you guys are doing it that way because, like I've always said, you got people that watch YouTube and then you got people that watch Twitch, and they don't intermingle too much.
Mm-hmm,
so
exactly,
be a good way to get information out to everybody.
Yeah, not everybody can be like us, Man Goose, where we just wing it every week and then just say, that works.
We used to be so structured and planned. Now it's like 3 hours before the show. You want to talk about this? Yeah, sure.
It worked. Yeah, well, we crossed the year mark. We don't have to care anymore.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
We beat a year. Now we can just hang back.
We can just flow into it.
Had enough ideas that we're going to get 10% on. We'll collect royalties for the rest of it. That's what it is.
We're set for life. As long as this game's successful, we're set for life.
Exactly.
All right,
well,
so
you're saying that you like the community corner and all that, and I agree with you. There were several times in recording that because that was the thing I wanted to avoid, is that feeling of being scripted. Because you and I talked about it on the previous community corners, and it was one of those, like, now that my face is on it, I don't want it to come across that way.
Yeah.
So it's several times it was like, okay, let's do that again. Let's make sure that this goes well, doesn't feel as scripted, and we kind of have it a little more flow to it, the whole 9 yards. So I'm glad to hear you say that it felt better for sure.
Well, great job. I'm sure people will agree down in the comments if they're watching this. I don't think I saw anybody really say it during the premiere, but I'm sure people felt it. I'm sure people recognized it and realized it.
I'm sure. And I'll even take no negative comments, right? So that's, in the previous ones, there were some negative comments below about how it felt scripted and it felt kind of off. Mm-hmm. Whereas this one, so far, hasn't had any of those. So that's an improvement in and of itself. So
no news is good news.
Exactly.
I only saw one comment that could be construed negatively. I think that was Pharaoh CDM. Said something about, you guys talk about money a lot now, which, yeah, I mean, you do. I can't knock the guy. We went from NFTs to Kickstarter to now Patreon, but you guys gotta have money to make the game work. I get why you're doing it, but yeah, it does. I get where he's coming from too. I see both sides of that story.
Absolutely. And to an extent, I can't say with 100% certainty, but theoretically the Patreon is the kind of last moment of that prior to the release of the game and the skins being the monetization.
Right.
That there is no, to my knowledge at the moment, we're not planning on doing something next week about more money or whatever it might be, right? So this is kind of the moment, and now it's more focused on developing the game, getting gameplay out there, giving teasers out on the Patreon and the community at large, all those kind of things.
The Patreon seems to be doing quite well. I mean, it's already up to $1,100 a month from what I saw.
Yeah, I mean, and it's going out every couple minutes. I get a notification on my phone of like a new person back to Patreon.
Oh, nice!
It's great to see.
Nice.
It's a great thing to wake up in the morning and I check my notifications and it's like 50 notifications. It's like, yeah, this person changed their pledge to be more. It's like, great, yes, do it, keep going.
We've had a few posts on the Patreon now. We're not going to get into the specifics of that, because that would kind of ruin the whole point of Patreon if we just gave you all the information on Enter the Ether. But We've seen Malaya's themes. Well, we've heard Malaya's theme music, which was great. I really liked it. Very different from Dante's. And it's been said before that they're going to try and match each myth with like appropriate music. And like, I think Dante's really fits him, but Malaya's definitely very different from Dante's because she has a very different backstory from him. So
absolutely. And without giving away any details of it, from the jump of that theme for Malaya and with the background that we have for her, you get a very keen sense of those two things being tied together, of her theme and her background being one and the same, which I loved. The first time I listened to it, I was like, ooh, okay, like, I love this. I'm in.
Yeah, Undying's always done a really great job with their music, with their sound design in general.
Yeah, absolutely. And more themes are going to be coming, so it's going to be great.
So if you want to hear it, Patreon, $5 a month at least.
Yep.
Then the other thing was Grognard teasers.
Yeah.
Grognard's lore.
About his lore and his potential abilities. Nothing that is direct in any way, but the Grog Church may care a lot about that, depending on...
I didn't know there was a Grog Church.
What? Magus doesn't know about the Grog Church. Grog Church, you guys got to get this man an invite.
Is there a cult of Grog?
Oh, there's a cult.
Nice.
That's a whole episode in and of itself.
I just know about Frognark and Grogbark and...
Yeah, the people that were behind those skins made their own Discord channel calling it the Grog Church. And it's... Dude, like I said, it's a whole episode by itself. Maybe next week we have an episode talking about the Grog Church.
Why am I not in this Discord?
You would love it.
Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing. I love it. I love it already. So let's move away from the Patreon. Let's get back into the community corner. Some information you guys put out. You said the mocap suit, from what you know, it should be coming this month, which is October, right?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
That'd be really good to see.
Still on track to be delivered this month, and we're basically itching to get it and hit the ground running on those animations. Yeah. So it should be great. We should be able to see a lot of improvement pretty quickly afterwards.
Do you have specific people in mind, other than the actor for Kratos to do the mocap stuff?
Yeah, we actually have a team of people that we've already put together that are just waiting for that suit to come in that we can have ready to go to do a lot of the animations for the characters we already have, and then people that we also think can do the animations for future characters as well. Okay,
right, great, right on. I think my problem with the animations, a lot of people, you can look at them and see that they're clunky, but what I've noticed is that nobody puts their hips into what they're doing. And I mean, and any fighter knows that's where your power comes from. It comes from the hips. It comes from your core. And like Malaya is just from the shoulder.
She's just cat scratching.
She's, and she's got a lot of hips to be putting into those big old swings, and she just doesn't. So I think once you get a mocap, like somebody that knows about fighting a little bit and about, making aggressive actions towards someone, then you'll get a lot more information of how someone would move if they were attacking someone with a giant claw. You don't see that a lot,
and part of it too is that because we know the mocap suit was coming, we don't necessarily want to fully flesh out all the animation catalog for each character, because that's just a lot of wasted work.
Yeah.
Right. So it's right now they have really bare bones. This is what they needed to be playable, and then when we get the mocap suit and can go into triplicate on these animations, where you can get the running forward to the left, a basic attack animation, versus just the generic basic attack animation, right? So you can get a lot more of that depth and detail with the hips moving and all that kind of stuff once you have actual people behind it as well.
That'll be really nice. That'll be really great to see. Let's see, what's the other stuff that you guys put out? Oh, the bloopers. Speaking of animations, Shredder Talos, the first one, looking like a high school flag girl, just waving his axe around everywhere. And that was you, right?
In the chat, I died laughing, man. I was losing my mind. Yeah, so Shredder Talos, like I said in the community corner, you could spam his right click and then spam his basic attacks at the same time. So you could just get him swinging his axe around like it was nothing.
And that thing hits hard. Like he's got a strong, hard-hitting basic attack because it's pretty slow.
Yeah.
So,
but it was so fun to like witness in game. We had a moment where we were trying to find something, and we had 12 Taloses in the game.
Oh god.
And that was during the time Shredder Talos was a bug. And so everybody was running around flag pulling Talos.
Just driving straight down a lane and taking out the Elder within 2 minutes.
Oh man, so good, so good.
Then the other one, the Iran grab, the Aaron Aronson grab, where they grab each other and then tango out into space.
And that one, dude, that ability had some weird bugs at first, to be sure. That was one, right, where Irans would grab each other and then would just take a flight, right? They're just gone. And sometimes they would fly cross-map. You'd go from, like, fire lane to ice lane instantaneously. And you're like, oh, okay, we're here now. Time 2v2, let's go. Like, but you'd also get that he would grab a different myth, and they would get teleported to the coordinates 0, on the map.
Oh, nice.
Because the game would freak out for a moment, and so it would grab them, and they would just disappear from existence, and go to the center of Void Lane, and then suddenly you have a Malaya that's in Void Lane. Oh, hi, Malaya. Hi, okay.
So what's supposed to happen?
What's supposed to happen? Where he grabs them, and he'll be able to throw them or hold on to them and pound them into the ground.
No. What's supposed to happen when two Irans meet at the same time?
Theoretically,
at the same time,
should only ever be one grabbing the other. Because one will hit the other first with their hitbox, but it's. I'm sure that interaction is going to have some weirdness in and of itself for a while.
That would be so hard to time.
Exactly.
it would have to happen by coincidence.
That clip that we showed in the community corner probably took 7 or 8 tries by itself to get that to show the Irans taking off, grabbing each other. So it'll be pretty rare when it happens. And God knows what's going to happen sometimes when they do grab each other.
I guess we'll find out because it's going to happen and somebody's going to clip it.
Absolutely it will.
It might one will just cancel out the other. Just
That's
naturally.
How it should work.
Just a coin flip, a 50-50 on that.
Yeah, whose hitbox was slightly further ahead in that moment.
Yeah.
Who did the server favor?
who was higher in elevation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then the last one we had was the minions killing the wyvern and fighting the wyvern.
Yeah.
Which, that was such a great moment, too. That was during that 12v12 Talos game that I was mentioned earlier. That just happened to pull minions up to the wyvern, and they just duke it out for a while. Incredible.
I've done that in Paragon. I used to drag minions out of lane and have them fight jungle camp minions, and it would work. That only worked for like 2 weeks.
I'll
but
be back to kill all of you in just a moment.
Yeah. All right. So like for the most part, you guys were talking about Patreon or stuff that we've already talked about on here, which was improvements to the game overall. And since we've already covered that, I didn't really want to hit that again. But when you guys were answering the questions, the first question was about future myths, and this was very exciting. a quadrupedal ranged myth.
Yeah.
It looked like a phaser beast. It looked like a mix between the weird armor cats from Chronicles of Riddick and a phaser beast.
Oh my god. Chronicles of Riddick, that is a great pull because I didn't think about that, but you're absolutely right. I'm trying to be very careful because I know what the myth is.
Yeah.
The myth is super exciting and cool all around. And having, like I said in the community corner, quadrupeds are typically melee characters because that's a hard thing to do in a 3D MOBA space to have a quadruped that can use ranged attacks because typically ranged is using one of your limbs.
Right.
So it's interesting how we're going to do that as well. And then Skifter had the slight teaser of saying that he's very chill. And
well, you can see ice coming, like dripping out of his mouth and stuff if you look really close.
So, but overall, super excited for that myth to get more attention in the future. we're not going to make a super common occurrence of showing these myths that far out in the future, but this was just kind of...
Yeah, I imagine we're not going to see that thing for a long, long time, because we still got Kalia, Akaika, Exiel,
there's
Zero,
8 or 9 myths that still have to release.
Malware.
Even that phase of myths is going to be a thing. So,
yeah, there's a lot that we need to see before that thing. But that thing does look really cool, and if it doesn't have a teleport, I'll be very surprised. Because it has like Phaser Beast tentacles.
It 100% looks like that. I agree with you.
So I think it's going to teleport. It's just me. I think the closest approximation I can get would probably be Iggy and Scorch, but that was a mounted hero. Like Iggy was riding Scorch, that left him free to throw his bombs and stuff. Yeah, but this thing, I'm guessing it'll attack with its tentacles or something. I don't know.
I don't know. I can't say, man.
Oh, you know what would be cool? This is fun because you
hang on. Let me get a pen and paper.
Because you know, and I'm just making shit up. This is like.
Usually it's me making stuff up.
Exactly.
Like, hey, it's this thing, that thing. 100 theories.
Exactly. It would be cool if the tentacles worked like Yin's whip.
Oh, okay.
So it's ranged, but like medium ranged and passes through stuff.
I like that idea.
Yeah, I like that too.
I don't know, Mangoose. Maybe this is another Marina gameplay situation. Maybe this is not, and I'm just yanking your chain and telling you who knows.
All right, we'll find out.
JellyKnees on the inside now, right? Is that
like a year from?
They're all better from this side.
I'm gonna have to remember, like a year from now, to come back and watch this and be like, "Ha! I was right.
I knew it."
And then if none of it comes, like if it doesn't teleport, and those aren't whips, I'm gonna be like, they did that just to spite me. That was the original plan, and then they changed it
to make you not right.
Exactly. The other question, lane structure meta, which I don't think even testers have really truly figured out yet.
I completely agree with you. I think in testing it's just kind of been whatever for the meantime. But as we saw in the Marina gameplay, right, the Dante and I went to Fire Lane instead. Now, part of that was because at the beginning of that gameplay, the audio that I cut out was telling him, let's be cheeky and go Fire Lane. But still, going Fire Lane is an option. Going Ice Lane is an option. We've done that several times in testing. Void is an option as well. I think it's going to come down to a lot of factors, and I know you and I have talked about this in the past, Mangoose, of which Wyvern does your team prioritize? Like, what synergizes better with your team? And then also, do you have someone that will benefit being in one lane over another? Right? I could actually see Ethereal being a game where that lane structure is ever shifting depending on team comp.
Yeah.
Where you could have your dual lane, if you're running Dante Marina, you could see them going Fire Lane primarily, but if you switched it to Malware Nikolai, maybe they're better in the Ice Lane, or they're better in the Void Lane. So you could have that kind of be slightly different game to game and have that work. Because I could definitely see that being a possibility.
And then you can also make decisions based on that too. Like when you see the enemy team drafting, and you're like, oh, they got the Malware Nikolai, they're probably going to go Ice Lane. Like, do we want to put our duo in Ice Lane, or do we want to pick a solo laner that can actually match up in a 2v1 and hold their own for a while, and perhaps even, like in Paragon, you'd flip the switch once you got your ultimate and start trashing the duo. But that would be really cool to see. I miss the 2v1s. I know a lot of people hated that, but
I'm with you though, Mangoose. That was such a cool aspect of Paragon in the early days, was that 2v1 style. I wouldn't say that we're endorsing the 2v1 style, because, again, a lot of people hated that, and that's not something that we internally have said, like, this is what we want to do. But I think there is the potential that some games, you may have that 2v1 because your matchup is better for it.
Right. I think
it'll be the majority by any means, though.
Especially at first, when people don't know where to go, you're going to end up with a lot of 2v1s just naturally.
Mm-hmm. And that was a conversation in that Marina gameplay we had. We had Kai on Talos against the duo lane. Mm-hmm. And it was, are you comfortable going against the duo, playing safe enough that you can 1v2 effectively while we dominate this part of the map instead? And he's, I'm comfortable, let's do that, right? And it's being able to coordinate with your team in that way as well is super important.
Yeah. It's going to be fun. a lot of interesting stuff's going to come out of the different lane structures.
Absolutely. And when the obelisk gets implemented as well, the obelisk could be its own version that of like, okay, now we value the obelisk over fire and ice, so we have a duo there as well.
I think a lot of it probably will come down to how important that obelisk is. The rest of us still don't know what it does. I bet you do now. I
can't say. I can't say for sure. What I would say is go watch my theory video on YouTube. That's what I'll say about the obelisk.
The next thing was the ping system, VGS system. So it was kind of a TBD right there. Like, you guys, it's still in development. You guys still haven't 100% decided how that's going to work.
Yeah, it's one of those systems that we have no doubt is valuable, right? Having that system, especially for a game where you're not always going to be queued with 5 of your friends, right? You want to be able to tell your team exactly what's going on as often as possible. So we want it to be in depth. We want to give it a lot of depth for what you can do, but we want it to make it accessible at the same time. And so it's trying to find a good balance between those two things of what depth to accessibility looks like.
Yeah, I have no ideas on that, because like I don't like the way Paragon does it, and how the way Fault does it now, and I guess predecessors probably going to do it too. Like, I don't like that, but it's like the only way I can think of to do a decent call out system in a third person MOBA like that.
Yeah, and it's one of those for Paragon, Pred, and Fault that it's the barrier to entry is so high for that ping system. Because you have to know, okay, to ping, the enemy is missing left. I have to go right, left, up, down, left, right.
Yeah.
And then there you go. Then I can do it. When you're trying to do that for the first time, you have to read all the options, and then it gives you another menu, and then another menu, and then another menu. Right? That's awful. That's terrible feeling. I've had friends that picked up Fault, and I'm like, ping that they're missing when they're missing. And they're like, how do you do that? It's like, you just left, right, left. Like, there you go. Like... But it's not accessible.
Yeah.
And that's like I said, the big thing that we're trying to figure out a good way to give that depth without being ridiculous at the same time.
I remember one of my first games of Fault, I got yelled at for not calling missing mid. Like, why didn't you call missing mid? I was like, I like halfway there and gave up. You know, like I was gonna try. I hit C. I brought the menu up, but then I got lost and said screw it.
You're telling me, Mangoose, you don't want to play Bop It every time you have to ping an enemy's missing?
Enter the contra code and get my extra lives. Yeah, that's nuts.
Exactly.
And then Spectator replay mode. Again, no time soon. I believe what Skipter said was they need to focus on getting the game like working properly and making sure it looks good and looks good enough that you would want to spectate it. So...
Absolutely. It's a nice feature that we know everybody wants to have and likes to have for a plethora of reasons. Content creators love it because they can go back, they can do like VOD reviews, they can go back and look at their own games.
Right.
Professional teams or high competitive teams love it because you can analyze things and break down where some mistakes are. And then regular players love it because if you make a sick play, you want to be able to go back and show your friends and say like, look at this thing, dude. Like I remember, I still have this clip too. I have a Box Grux replay on my computer from when he was bugged in Paragon. And that thing I held on to for dear life. I was like, I am not losing this replay to save my life.
That's awesome.
So it's one of those things of like, it's good to have, but gameplay has to come first, right? The priority has to be there. In order to have cool plays, you have to have a game.
Now, I'm looking forward to the spectator mode, but I completely understand that it's not the number one priority right now. I don't think people that are asking expect it to be. They just kind of want to know.
Yeah, and letting us know that that's something they value and want as well is hugely important. Because we know there's a list of 300 features that we want in Ethereal. We have to prioritize the ones that the community wants, the ones that we want, and all that kind of stuff. So hearing people say, and hearing a lot of people agree that, yeah, spectator replay mode, that's what we want. Okay, that feature can move up that list of 300 things. Because that's something the community values and wants in the game earlier than some of the other secondary features like that.
Right. Then the next question that was asked was why you guys went with the tiered item system, and I 100% understand why you guys did go with the tiered item system.
Yeah, I mean, accessibility is huge, and I've said it several times in other questions now, but the game is already super complicated. Like, there's no question about that, right? And class abilities and an extra ability across the board on all myths is just going to add to that. There's no reason to make the item system even more complicated than
Right.
it has. When games like Smite have shown that it works, and Smite players will disagree with me there, but but Smite shows that you can do it. We just have to do it better than Hi-Rez is doing, which I don't think is a problem. So it's a good system to have, and just make it accessible for all players.
And for those of you who don't know, because there's a lot of people that are coming to Ethereal from Smite and from League of Legends. Not everybody is a Paragon refugee that's following Ethereal. Like, it's pretty much all the refugees are following like Fault and Predecessor and all that stuff like that. But not some of them are following Ethereal, but not all of them. So I wanted to kind of explain real quick the Paragon item system, because that's what kind of was asked, is why they weren't using like the component item system that Paragon used. The way it worked in Paragon was you would buy your full end item, and then you had 3 slots in that end item, and you were able to buy cards that you could slot in. So you could basically pick what stats you wanted on your end item. I mean, it was a little bit limited. Like, you could only either have like physical power, armor, or life, or something like that. But you could put whatever combination. And not only that, but you had different levels of those component cards. Like, you had like a tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3. So you could make an early game item out of a late game item, basically. Like, you could buy it pretty cheap and then slot 3 tier 1s into it to complete that card and get the benefit from it. But that's what they're talking about. So that's a pretty complicated system if you're coming from other MOBAs. And it's one of the reasons that a lot of MOBA players didn't like Paragon. They didn't like that item system. They just didn't understand it. And so I do like that you guys went with the tiered system. I mean, the other problem, of course, with the Paragon card system is that you had to like unlock the cards and
The loot box
and get them out of loot boxes and shit. So towards the end of the game's life, it became sort of pay to win. I remember I didn't have. It was very important in Paragon to have a minor strike, which was if you're going to play carry, and it took me for fucking ever to get a minor strike card.
There were several of those cards throughout the life of Paragon that, if you got lucky and rerolled the card, you could dominate games because you just had the one card that put you leagues above everybody else.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you guys went with the tiered system over the component system, even though I do enjoy the component card system and how flexible it was as far as stats go. But probably not something you guys want to do.
Especially not at first, right? As everybody's learning all these other mechanics.
And then the other thing was items that modify abilities. And this was like a maybe in the future sort of thing.
Yeah, there other games. I can name a couple here. Like, we've got Dota 2 has an item. I can't say the full name correct, but I know it's known as like Ag's Scepter. And what it does is it modifies like ultimates or passives and gives them bonus effects or more damage or bigger radius, or it seems similar to the talent tree in HOTS, but on an item. Right. So you can say like, oh, now I want the bigger radius. I have to buy that item in order to get that. So that was one of the examples. There are characters in League that have their own items in the shop when you play them that they can then upgrade certain abilities and things like that. So I think it was just asking about that. It's something, especially as a lot of us in UG are League players, that we look at and be like, that's definitely a potential in the future, but there's just nothing now for it.
Yeah. I mean, it would be cool, but again, I think you guys should probably focus on getting the basics down before you go doing some craziness like that.
For sure. Absolutely.
The last one was class abilities. When are we going to see the rest of the class abilities that aren't currently in? And again, that was sort of whenever. I think Skifter's answer pretty much was the whenever they are able to implement them, they will do videos, and I'm sure that means Jelly will do a video explaining the class ability and how it works. So no real concrete answer as to when, but we we are assured that we will know exactly how it works when it does happen.
Yeah, and those I can say here those are all features that are going to be implemented prior to the pre-alpha. So that's between now and that pre-alpha release. That those videos and all that will be.
When was that pre-alpha release again?
Oh wow, how a revolt switched here. But we did talk about that in the community corner as well. That we're still slated for the 2021 pre-alpha release. And being on the internal side, I would definitely say that that's a goal that we're very likely to hit, given everything that's involved there. And there may be opportunities in the future prior to that pre-alpha release to try the game and go from there and get some feedback as well.
Okay, right on. Good to hear. And that sums pretty much everything up for the community corner, unless you had anything else you wanted to talk about, Jelly.
No, I think that's about it. I mean, always, if you guys have questions, leave them in this video, leave them on the community corner video, put them in the Ethereal Discord. Right, we're going forward, especially for live community corners. We want to answer as many questions as possible. Right, we want to try. This time we did, I think we had 7 or 8. But that's the main goal, is answering questions, getting people more comfortable with the idea of how things are going to work and all of that. That's what we want to do. So anytime you guys have questions, either send them to me, leave them somewhere that we can see them. We're happy to do that.
Is there a date for the live one?
There is not that we've released yet.
Okay.
We should be doing that shortly here. It'll be this month. We'll do one live and one pre-recorded every month.
Okay, right on. All right, awesome. I like how we've switched roles here. And I'm going to have to rename myself to Jam Elbows.
Perfect. It's JellyKnees and Jam Elbows. I love it.
Okay, yeah, I think that's about it. Anything you wanted to plug, Jelly?
Just join the Ethereal Discord, follow their socials and all that. Join the Patreon. Lots of cool stuff's going to be coming out there. Weekly posts, all that good stuff. I'll be the one putting up the posts. So, I will be very consistent on that and get those out to you guys. So, yeah, that's the big thing. What about you, Mangoose?
Completely unrelated to anything, but the fall anime season is starting to come out. So, 2 suggestions. If you don't mind like a slice of life sort of dramatic anime, Blue Period is really good. I've watched the first 2 episodes of that and really enjoyed them. And one that kind of came out of nowhere that I wasn't tracking at all. Blue Period was on my radar. This one wasn't. It's a Tesla Note. It's about recovering Nikola Tesla's inventions. It's pretty awesome. It's pretty awesome. Like, I've watched 1 episode.
That sounds super cool.
The girl in it is adorable. It's kind of done with the Ruby style animation, which I normally don't like, but they actually did a pretty good job of it with this one. So, Tesla Note and Blue Period. Check those out if you want to.
Awesome.
So there we go, right out of nowhere, some anime suggestions. But I hope you guys enjoyed that anime. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed the community corner. And I hope you guys enjoyed Jelly and I swapping roles. And I hope you all join us as we enter the ether. Mangoose! Shout out to channel members Foolish Blood Hunter, JellyKnees, and Meow Mix for Men.